Hello, hello. This is Jana Hancock with the Feel Good, Get Tough podcast. Feel Good, Get Tough, episode 26, Money Matters. Last week we talked about debt. At the end of today's episode, we're giving away something free to every listener on this podcast. So make sure you listen to the end so that you know how you can get your free gift. A few episodes ago, we talked about the energy of money. And I do think that some of the things I talked about in that episode does apply a little bit to today. But what I want to cover today in Money Matters is we need to be prepared in our money matters. It's important to keep track of what's coming in and what's going out. It's really important to know exactly where we stand on our finances. And it's also important to be responsible and not living above our means and living within our means, and even if necessary, cut out the things that we don't really need. But also, in Money Matters today, we are going to be talking about how important it is to prepare for your financial future as well. So, for example, retirement. So, where are you now in retirement? I know there are a few listeners on this podcast who are already in retirement. Some of them are struggling a little bit with not having enough money to last through retirement. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that too. I know lots of people don't like the B word, budget. But however, budget doesn't have to be a bad thing. I use budgeting all the time, and that's something that I actually enjoy numbers. Not everybody does, but I really like to. The reason why I enjoy numbers is because I like to see what's coming in and what I can do with the extra money that I do have and put it to good use. And sometimes what you have to do is change your relationship with money in what you have. And also, in doing a budget for yourself, it's like, what are some of the debts you'd like to get rid of? So make a list of those things, like car payment, credit card payment. Those things don't always have to be a necessary part of living. And especially with COVID now, a lot of people now are working from home. Do you really need that big fancy car payment? Or can you get by with something a little bit cheaper or something a little bit older that might still serve your purposes? There's so many different ways you can change some of the things you're doing in your life without downgrading your standard of living. And I'm not suggesting that you downgrade your standard of living, but what you need to decide are, what are the things that you're willing to live without, and what are some of the things that you're willing to give up in your life so that you can have the things that you really want, or take the vacations that you really want. Well, part of that happens when you budget, and then you can plan for your financial future. And take a look of some of your insurance expenses. What kinds of things can you save money on just by either changing insurance companies or getting an estimate on some of the things you need to change? So for a lot of people right now is an enrollment period where you have the opportunity to take a look at some of your health insurance plans and see what's changing for next year, and see where can you get into a plan that will help you better financially than the one that you had this year. And you do have that option to make some of these changes every single year. And even though some insurance plans, some things go up, such as copays, deductibles, and sometimes insurance premiums as well, take a look at all of those factors. And a good insurance agent is usually going to be a broker that's going to be objective with all of the different things that you have. And so, for example, for some of my clients that I sit down with, I tell them, if they have a good plan and I'm not able to get them on something better, then I tell them to stay right where they're at, even if it's a plan with another agent. I do tell them that because for me, that's the ethical thing for me to do. And I'm not one of those people that gets people to switch their plan just because they want me to be their agent. I don't do that. If you have something that is serving you well, is low co-payments, and you really don't want to change anything, and it's doing well for you, after reviewing your plan information with your agent, then just stay right where you're at. If nothing out there is going to be better than what you have. But there's so many different areas where you can look at that. That's the auto insurance, homeowners insurance, also life insurance. If you've got any kind of 401ks, also it's a good point to see how your 401k may be performing, if it's losing money or where you're at with that, or even a retirement account, an IRA. Those things are also just as important to look at. And you need to review those annually so you can see exactly where you sit and exactly, how those things are performing for you. And also take a look at the fees that some of these insurance companies are charging. Is it worth it for you to be in some of these accounts? Or do you have the time that you can do more risky investments? And if you're older, you usually don't have time on your side to do that. And right now, the stock market is volatile, but however, there are still commodities that you can make income on. And so, for example, gold, silver, right now, I expect those things will go up. And those things are always going to be good commodities that you can invest in, because those things also are more stable than our money system. Because, the more the government prints money, well, that devalues our dollar. But the price of gold and silver, that may fluctuate a little bit, but that's something that we'll always have that may be worth more than the dollar. And I can guarantee both gold and silver will probably exceed what our dollar amount, our monetary values are right now. So if you're thinking of investing in some things, do your research. Do your research, make sure that where you're doing your research is credible, or talk to a professional, one that is willing to give you an objective opinion without charging you a giant fee up front. So there's also other things you need to plan for, such as end-of-life expenses. So if something were to happen to you today, and if you're the primary breadwinner of your family, would your family be taken care of? That's a question you need to ask yourself. And you need to be in the mindset of becoming your future self and the decisions that you'll make as your future self. And I talked about this also in, another previous podcast. You can look it up, Your Future Self. But regardless of that, you need to make wise decisions as well for your final wishes and what you want in case if something were to happen to you today. How would the money be divided in your estate? Do you have a living will or a trust in place so that your estate doesn't go into probate? Well, I can tell you, probates can sometimes last for years. And especially if you have family members that contest anything in the will or the estate. So there are a few things that you really need to be aware of. And as long as you keep these things in mind that are most important in your life, this is all has to do with money matters. Thank you so much for staying with me till the end. The thing I've got for you today is a financial planning guide. And there's a few things in here that are going to be useful and helpful for you. Also included is a free digital download of a spreadsheet to help you budget the money coming in and going out. As well as in this, there's also a section in there for your end of life expenses and how to calculate what you need and how to plan for your future towards the end of your life. But anyway, if you haven't already picked up the financial freedom package I offered as a free gift last week, those are still available. All you need to do is send me an email to feelgoodandgettough@gmail.com, and in the subject line, money matters. And that's all you need to do. Thank you so much for listening today, and have a great day. Thank you for listening to the Feel Good and Get Tough podcast. If you liked my podcast, make sure you rate it and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss another episode. You can also connect with us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or visit our website at feelgoodandgettough.com.